Yo, what's going? What's going? It's your boy here, Chuff McDuck 423. Back at it again with another Paladins tier list. Let's just jump right into it with 2 feet. Start at the top. With my boy fucking Terminus. So, some people sleep on Terminus. They're like, oh, we don't need to ban him. Oh, we can counter him. We can pick the blah, blah, blah. Not when I'm playing Terminus. Terminus has the power of 1v3 at his disposal, just absorbing all their damage, walking them down, hand out, absorbing, and kind of can just fight multiple people at once. Comes back to life when he dies. You can't buy any wrecker or anything against him. There's no really counter building him other than being fast and getting nimble. But even then, you just gotta run the hold your Calamity Blast charge build where you hold all 5 blasts and get 20% movement speed and 20% damage reduction. And just run around like a NASCAR, but also a rhinoceros. Great pick. First pick all the time. Absolutely slaps. Speaking of first pick all the time, it's your boy, Azan. Now, Azan can be better than Terminus, and I think he probably is. However, I think I win more with Terminus, but that's probably just because he's been around longer. So I'm going to put them all both right there, but Azan, I mean, he's like sniper gang. Kodak can absolutely, you're getting shot at by the Octavia that's just been lording on you all game. Oh, just counter snipe them with fucking Azan, bro. Like, what do you mean? Come on, counter sniper. He's got the counter snipe, he's got the wall. He's like, oh, you're sniping me? Alright, bet, and I'll just pull up on you 10 million miles away with Azan ultimate and my dash. So, really good pick. S+. Speaking of Octavia, they hit her with a buff. I'm gonna say it. She's S+. Maybe S. Maybe she gets outshined, but for now, I'm just gonna put her here. Just been an absolute powerhouse in the games recently. You know what? I'm gonna put her here for now. We might move her up. Because I can still, as a Zon or Terminus, I can still, for the most part, clap Octavia. But there are times when she's just thunking me in the head from a million miles away and just jumping out the gym with her jump. So, we'll do some dabbling around. But for now, I'll do that. We'll do some dabbling. Next up, everyone's favorite Sati. I'm gonna go ahead and put her all the way back up into the S+. Way too much damage with her strap. Just pop, 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 you're dead. Invisible, annoying, jumping, backflip. Ultimate goes through all shields and through walls. I don't know, just seems like she does the most damage now out of the damages. They're at least up there. Great pick. Speaking of most damage and does a lot of damage, Tyra, I'm thinking Tyra's maybe got knocked down a peg from her removing the cripple from her fire. But that being said, she's still just a force of reckoning in games. Like, people are like, oh yeah, don't ban Tyra, she got nerfed, what could go wrong? And then you just get Tyra, bruh, and get 4,500,000 million damage and fire. Your fire still, they didn't take away the damage of the fire. They just made it so you ain't crippled anymore. No more crip walking on them. Alright. Next up, Lex. Thinking Lex is just right around here. I'm gonna put him up here. If Lex is if you got a first pick Lex on your team, you pretty much won at that point. You're like, oh cool, alright, we won. Nice. And if the enemies have one, you're like, well, this game's gonna be a fucking bitch and a half. Only thing Lex kind of struggles with is like super grouped up coordination from the enemy team. But if you're nice with your dash and you're nice with your ult, then you can deal with the group. Speaking of dealing with groups, I'm gonna get my boy Dredge, and I'm tempted to put him into S, but I think A is more his domain. I don't know, maybe I'll just slap him up there, because if you can hit your shots with Dredge, he does so much damage. I think he does as much, if not more damage than Sati and Tyra, but you just gotta hit your shit. Because if you miss it, which is really easy to miss, then you're kind of just a useless old man standing by a portal. Next up, we're gonna go with Absolute Choss Fernando. I think Fernando is almost as good as these hogs, but just like slightly below him. Just slightly. I'll put him up here. Just look at him. Maybe we'll move him up as the tier list goes on, but for right now, if I could either go Terminus or Zahn versus if I could go Fernando, you know, I'm probably going to pick. I mean, ideally, you got all three on your team. I'll just say that. Ideally, that's the perfect world, but that's not how it always is. Next up, Barrick. Barrick and Fernando, you know, similar vibes. Hold down the point. Be a monster. Be unstoppable. You know what? Honestly, fuck it. I'm putting them up here. These guys on the point just are unstoppable forces. Like, if Barrick's set up on the point and Fernando's on the pizzy, and I'm playing a Zahn trying to do something to that, it's not really happening, bro. Like, that's a hard cookie to crumble. They'll still get, you know, Dredge can put some work into these two. If you're playing Dredge and you're shooting them, then they'll get clinacked. Which maybe means I bring them down a notch. We'll play it by ear. That'll do for now. Nice and indecisive. Alright, next up on the list of just absolute horseshit to play against, Talus. Still a monster. People are like, oh, Talus got nerfed. We don't even need to pick Talus. And then let Talus end up going down to like the 4th pick, bruh. And I locked that bitch in, and he's still a monster. Maybe Lex is like a smidge better, but in the right hands, Talus is just unstoppable. I'm gonna put him. Maybe I'll put him here. We'll do that. Ray. They nerfed her. She's still the best healer. She's still just way too good. The person you're ulting doesn't have her nerfs. Her ult still does the same thing to that tank that you're about to kill. I think they've reverted her basic attack nerfs. Those literally feel the exact same. She's still just busting out the chops. Just go the cooldown spam build where every time you hit your basic attack you get healing cooldown back, and go the ultimate charge. Bro, you're giving people like 20% ult charge every damn 10 seconds. Like, come on. Way too nice. Next up on way too nice, I'm gonna have Sky. Sure, while Illuminate does make it a lot harder for Sky to play, she can still be a force to be reckoned with. Her ult slaps, her debilitate damage, shred through some tanks. You hit a tank with like 1 or 2 debilitates, them motherfuckers are falling down. Sky's beast. Not quite as good as Lex, and maybe not as Talus, but I think she's vastly underestimated. Looking through the list, I think next up, let's go with Atlas. Atlas, S tier. If you can pull it off, S plus. Maybe, but I've seen some Atlases that really are just like, they're S plus for sure. Probably the best character. But at the same time, just reliability of these two versus reliability of old At McGat, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll leave him there for now because in my heart I believe he is probably one of the best characters in the whole game. So I'll just put him up there. Just really hard to use, and most people are not playing him to his potential. Speaking of really hard to use and most people not playing to their potential, Androxus. While I do think Androxus could be better than Lex, I would rather play against Androxus than play against Lex because people on Lex just have the game handed to them on a platter, whereas Androxus, you gotta work for that. And most people just aren't bringing the work required to play him to the potential of Lex or like Ray or any of these fuckers. So I think he's just in regular old S, which is still just way better than all these schmoes. Alright, we've kind of got the top down. Maybe we'll add Khan to that list because he's also just way too OP. Just throw people off the map, invincible shout, fucking truck him, throw him, stun him, throw up the shield, shoot him in the head. He's got it all. Great character. Can point tank, not quite as well as these boys, but I've seen some cons who are just solo tanking, surviving, and I'll be damned, they're magnificent. So, S tier character, very good. Just absolutely OP for sure. Alright, let's move up on next to Corvus. I do think Corvus is S tier, maybe even S plus. These two are without a doubt the best healers in my mind, don't get me wrong. Absolutely significantly better than the rest of these schmozos in terms of healing, keeping your team alive, and like working well with your team. So I think I'm going to put them both at just the very top of the drop. I kind of want to move Corvus down a smidge. Do that. Just because if you're playing like Lex or Sati or something, you can kind of just pull up on Corvus and slap him into the dirt. Whereas if you try to do that to Ray, bro, she's just jumping and bouncing and damage reduction and ults and fucking slowing you down. Can't be done. Alright, controversial opinion, but I'm going to say it. Grok's good. They hit him, so back, millennia ago, it feels like, they gave Grok a buff that was way too strong, and he was super OP, getting first picked or banned every game. Times were good, times were not. We're righteous and nigh without any bullshit because we just picked Grok every game and just absolutely dumpster trucked onto people. But then they just gutted him with a nerf, absolutely did him dirty. And he was pretty much unplayable for a while. And then they slid in a sneaky buff that not a lot of people noticed, and I think he's good now. He's not, where he once was. But he's a hog. I think Grok's a good pick. Not really the best healer, you're not really picking him for heals, but that Maelstrom, bro, you get that thing bouncing around. Kinda nice. Alright, next on the tier list of pretty nice, I'm gonna throw in Tiberius's name to the ring. People aren't picking him much, don't see it seen too much. You're like, oh, Tiberius. I don't even know if I've seen Tiberius in 20 years, but man, he still swings. He's got the chops, he's got the heavy blade, he's got 2 jumps if you want it. Pretty fucking slapping. Next up, we got Furia. In terms of healing and keeping your team alive, these two are way better. But in terms of just obliterating all who stand against you and winning a game by pure force and domination, Furia's pretty nice. I think she's up at the top A, maybe even into I'm gonna put her fucking top of A. Maybe move her up. My only qualm is that to moving her up. Ray and Corvus, you can lock that in, and you're straight. You don't have to worry about anyone on your team picking anything else. You lock in Furia, a lot of these bozos and numbskulls are going to be like, oh, we already have a healer, we're good to go. But you're not really picking Furia for her healing necessarily. You're more picking it for her ultimate damage, buff, and speed, her laser beams, and just her absolutely clacking utility she brings. So while ideally you have like a Furia and a Ray, or like Furia and Corvus or something, that doesn't always happen. Same thing for Grok. You kind of need a second healer. And in a perfect world where people see a Grok or a Furia and think, oh, we need another healer, that's not going to cut it, they would be S plus and they'd be S. But in the real world, in the regular world where you and I are living, if I'm like, oh hell yeah, I'm about to second pick Furia because they picked like Yagoroth and Fernando or something, like just a laser to cut through that. Pick Furia. The rest of my team probably not going to pick a healer, and then we're not really going to have the best healing on our team, and it's going to go poorly, which is why I got to bring them down. But have the potential to be very good. Top of A. Top of the A to you. Let's keep moving on. Inara has been pretty prevalent in these games recently. With Terminus and Azan just receiving lots of bans, the tank pool thins, and Fernando and Barrick get a fair amount of bans. Not a lot left to choose from. Inara's pretty much the next de facto go-to. Just damage reduction, healing increase, wall on the point, cripples you, you can't move anywhere. She's got it going on, just an absolute force. I don't think she's quite up in the S with these two lords and Khan, but she's just right on the cusp. Still really good. Still, like, don't get me wrong, these guys being up here doesn't mean Inara's bad. It just means that if I pick Terminus or Azan, probably just going to carry the whole game by myself. But if I pick Inara, like, yeah, I'll carry and get some kills and probably get top damage and kills or whatever, but just can't really pull up on someone like these guys can. Alright, moving on down. Things get a little dicey. Oh, 7. Bada bing, bada boom. I think 7, honestly, might be S. I've seen some 7s that make me think he's S. But I've also seen a lot of 7s that are pretty bad. So I think the fair assumption is putting him into A. Still a really good pick. Still can just carry your games and dominate and be a force of doom and chaos. But if you're trying to go up against some of these big hogs as a 7, have a little trouble. I played some Terminus, and even though that 7 I played against was the best I've ever seen, dashing around, impossible for me to catch, we still won that game. He was just running around, running away the whole time, whereas I was just plumping everything. So I don't know. I think Terminus and these blokes are just a little better than 7, but he still can be a force to be reckoned with, and just grab a game by the gonads and let it ride. Alright, who is even who? 4, I guess, next best. Here's the thing about 4. Has the potential to be S or S plus and just an incredible force of destruction. But do I see it? No. Do I see Talus and Sky just dominating every game without any worries or woe? Yes. Fora? Not really. Usually they're like kind of not the best. Sometimes they'll just be forces of doom that you can't touch, but a lot of the time, myself included playing Vora, you're just better off on one of these other characters. You're going to have more of a swing at things. That being said, she's still a hog, still a hoss. Probably move her up a little bit. Let's get some moving around. Let's do a little move on it. Put that move on it. Alright. Grok you can't really pick him early in a draft. You gotta kind of pick him later on. He's more of a counter pick. But when in that scenario, can be an incredibly powerful pick. Alright, speaking of counter picks that can be incredibly powerful, Realm and Yaggroth. These two absolute Chad hogs can, under the right circumstances, dominate a whole game by themselves. Maybe I'll put them up a notch. Can just dominate a whole game without any qualm. But if you're up against, I don't know, Sati, Tyra, or Lex, or this or that, or any of these, kind of get smoked, and it doesn't feel the best. But if you're against, let's just say the remaining population of Paladins characters, you can kind of just go unchecked and just be an unstoppable force of doom and chaos. Nigh indestructible. Great picks. Kind of more counter picks. You don't really want to first pick a Yag on it, or else they'll hit you with some Dredge or Tyra or Lex or Sky, and you're just like, oh, my health bar is gone. Great picks. A plus, if I could, but let's just go with the A. Alright. Next on down the list, moving down, I'm going to put Drogos. Here's the thing about Drogos. He's kind of like a way harder to play Dredge. So a lot of the time you can kind of just be slapping on Dredge instead of Drogos. But I will say, if you're playing Fernando or Terminus and they got a Drogos, not going to be a fun time for you. Really not. But do Drogoses win? Usually not. When you see them, sometimes they're just either unstoppable and can't be touched, or they just are the reason their team loses and they just lose the game. A lot of the time I see them lose, but on the times where they can't be touched and can't be stopped, I have to acknowledge that. And so I'm putting him in the upper middle echelon, because a good Drogos can really just fuck up your whole day if you're picking one of these bozos. But if you're like nice on one of these against Drogos, you can kind of just smack them down. Next up, I think we're going with Kinessa. Don't get me wrong, on some maps, Kinessa feels unstoppable, like S, but at the same time, if you're picking any of these characters, you can kind of just pull up on Kinessa, and she loses that fight. You win it. So I gotta put her down here with Drogos. You know, she can just get slapped around. I've seen Kinessas do work. I've seen them carry the whole game. Does it happen all the time? No. Can I usually, as one of these, just smash down Kinessa and put her into the grave? Yes. Is she annoying? Sure, don't get me wrong. Definitely annoying. This is like the annoying tier. Definitely can be a hog. Moving on. I guess we got Saris next up. Times have not been good to Saris. The cauterized change seemed like it'd be good for Saris in theory, but in practice, she got way worse after that happened. I don't know, she just doesn't bring enough to the table like Ray or Corvus does. Because while they all bring a lot of healing, damage reduction, other buffs like movement speed and lifesteal buffs, Saris doesn't really bring any buffs. She's just kind of healing and oh, I'll do my heal. Oh, it's 90% cauterized. All right, I'll heal you for 10 a tick. Like, that's all I can do, guys. Sorry, I'm doing my best. But don't get me wrong, beginning of a game, early game, if there's an Inara on the point with her healing increase who bought some Rejuvenate, there's a Saris behind her holding down heal, you're not getting that point against Inara. She will hold strong. Saris is still a good pick, pretty good. Still top upper portion, but times have been bad to her. Not what she used to be. Gotta put her in B now. Speaking of B, I'm gonna put Koga in B, maybe at the top of B. While Koga can just obliterate you on a lot of characters, like if you're playing Sky against Koga, Koga's probably gonna win that fight, and you're gonna have a tough time. But if you're playing like Terminus or Azan, what's Koga gonna do against you? It can do nothing. Whereas Lex can like execute you with an ult, percentage health damage from Sky. Androxa can just fly eternally above your head. Koga ain't really got any of that. Sure, he's got his dashes and is like kind of annoying, but that's what it is. It's just annoyance. You're just annoyed by it. You're like, oh, this is fucking annoying to play against. These are the annoying tier. But not necessarily that good. Alright, I think, honestly, that's kind of shaping up B tier. Maybe, yeah, I'm gonna say that shapes it up. Put my boy Grover in a C tier. Oof. Times have not been good to Grover. They hit him with some fat, big chopper and chop down nerfs and just chopped him down. All the way from where he once was down to the slums. He just kind of blows now. You pick any of these schmucks and pull up on Grover, he's just fucked. There's no getting out of it. You can try to do your Vine Tech and sure, fly away, but then you're not healing your team, you're just running away, and the whole running away aspect really just doesn't pan out a lot of the time if you're playing against people that are actually have a brain and can just be like, oh, yeah, run away, we'll just fucking get the point, and you just run away while we win the game. Kind of starting to feel like some of that vibe. And I don't know, just doesn't really bring a lot. Don't get me wrong, still not bad, but still not really great. Just kind of in the middle, like, Grover's on my team. Do I hate it? Not really. Do I love it? Not really. Whatever. Kind of in the middle, just like, meh, whatever. Speaking of meh, whatever. Makoa's a hard character to place. If you can hit your hooks with Makoa and you're nice on Makoa, he's a hog. He's up in the A. But a lot of the time you can kind of just slaughter gang Makoa and just obliterate him into the dust and into the earth and ash. And I'm going to be honest, like 99 times out of 100 times, I don't have any problem with Makoa, and I can just clunk him with one of these plunkers. But I've played with some Makoas that are so just disgustingly nice that you're like, okay, yeah, Makoa's S for sure with that guy on him. But majority of the Makoas, if this is just like what's on my team, like I'm looking at my team comp and I'm looking at their team comp, Makoa's on it, not too happy about it. I'm not sad about it. I'm not like loving it. I'm not like, yes, we have a first pick Lex. If we have a first pick Makoa, I'm like, oh, well, let's see. Like, maybe he'll be really good. But most of the time, Not really cutting it. Speaking of most of the time, not really cutting it. Ruckus. A lot of people on Ruckus are just absolute hot dog water in a glass that you have to drink because they're on your team and you're just stuck drinking hot dog water with your shitty Ruckus. But occasionally, as is with Makoa, there'll be someone on Ruckus that's just so nice, and you're playing Ruckus and you're just dashing all up in their shit, shooting missiles, unstoppable. No one can touch you. No one can catch you. Just pull up on, like, say, like Tyra's in the back and Sati's doing some bullshit. You can just pull up on him with Ruckus and give him that smoke. But most of the time, the people that pick Ruckus on my team pick him because they don't have any tanks because they just started playing the game. This is like their third game, and they're like, I don't know who to pick. I guess Ruckus is a tank. And they kind of suck. So a lot of the time, Ruckus, I put him in the C. Hate to see it because a great Ruckus, if you're good on Ruckus, if you can actually play Ruckus well, S+. Great character. Fly around, unstoppable. Most of the time, it's your regular Ruckus. This is, again, if I'm see the R5 people locked in and one of them's Ruckus, I'm like, oh, that's something. Speaking of oh, that's something, Torvald. Same vibe. On the right hands can just be an absolute hoss in the right hands. Most of the time, if they're on my team, they suck and we lose mostly because of them. And I'm just like, why is this the case? A lot of times when they're on the enemy team, I can just thunk them down with Terminus. Like if I'm playing Terminus, all three of these guys are catching that smoke. You might think, oh, they picked Terminus. I'll just counterpick him with Makoa. Haha, my brain is so large and throbbing. No, you pull in that Terminus and then great. Now Terminus is just closer to you and your carries and can chop you down easier and you perish. Gotta put him down here. Still can, don't get me wrong, carry and be an absolute hog with all three of these. Most of the time, on the other hand, not really seeing it. But you know what? I'm gonna do these boys some justice. I'm moving them all up a peg because they're still just can have the potential to just be an unstoppable force of doom. And I'm gonna put Ashe into C tier. I think Ashe is the worst tank. I'm gonna say it. Her damage is the lowest out of all the characters. 400 damage a shot, very slowly. If that, just doesn't really cut it. Yeah, her shield can be annoying, but I mean, come on, against these guys, her shield is nothing because their shields are just way better. Sure, can knock you off the map, but that's only on some maps. Only if you get close, only if you fall for her traps. Most of the time, Ashe, again, I'm not like, oh no, we're gonna lose, we have an Ashe. I'm like, oh, Ashe, alright. I mean, I guess that's whatever. Similar vibe, alright, I guess that's whatever. Buck. You know, they're usually doing like pretty good, but not really enough to hold a torch to these guys. And so I gotta bring them down to just like, oh, we got Buck on the team. I mean, that's alright, I guess. That's like, okay, sure. For Vatu, I'm gonna be honest, people just can't play him well enough to deserve the C rank. And so I gotta put him into the D rank. When people are picking Vatu, they're thinking they're all that tough shit, but they're just gonna get absolutely smoked into the ground by these characters. Or these characters. Or dare I say, in just an average Joe's hands, these characters. You're just a regular dude playing Paladins. Vatu's not the pick. If you're just loading into your ranked games, you're like plat or gold or whatever, someone on your team picks Vatu, probably not going to be good. You're probably going to take that L. So for that, D tier. Next up, Bomb King. People pick Bomb King, they suck with him because he's incredibly hard to play, and you're just a fucking some dude just smoking a bong on his PS4 trying to game. Don't have what it takes to play Bomb King. Trust me, I know. I love Bomb King. I fall into those categories. You just can't pull him out in the ranked. You're not gonna, like, occasionally, sure, you'll get to those dubs and just be an unstoppable beast, but most of the time, not gonna be fun. If you're playing Bomb King against any of these guys, it's just rough, buddy. It's rough. Imani. Don't think she's that good. Her dragon's nice. Her abilities are nice. But her just DPS and just like reliable damage output, not very good. Only saving grace is just flying around and running away and summoning her dragon, which does slap. But the dragon can kind of just get shot down. You can kind of just ignore the dragon for like a couple seconds and shoot it down and then go back to the point. Imani just doesn't bring enough damage to the table to be worthy of being on my team. I just don't think it's a good pick. If someone picks Imani, I'm like, oh, yikes. That's probably not going to be great. Alright, speaking of ooh, yikes, probably not going to be great. Xin. I'm going to say it. While I have been finessed by some Xin moves where he just like barely gets out with his little health fucking invincibility smoke bullshit, again, just doesn't bring enough damage, doesn't bring enough reliable damage like these characters do. Because as Xin, if you're up trying to chop down like a Rom or a Yag or an Azan or a Terminus, you're not going to get the job done. If they're shooting at you back and you're shooting at them, they're winning that fight. Your health will die before theirs does. And it just doesn't bring enough output to really be that good. And I think he's kind of bad. And would rather not have him on my team. Speaking of kind of bad, would rather not have on my team, but like not the worst thing, I guess, but still just like, why would you pick that here? That's a terrible pick. IO has a limited pool of healing. Like, who else has that? Everyone else can just heal however much they fucking want to heal. She's got like a little bar that runs out. Like, oh, I'm out of healing. Like, what, motherfucker? What do you mean you're a healer? How are you gonna run out of healing? Jump is bullshit. Not gonna get you far enough. You try to jump away from Terminus, congratulations. You're still dead. I'm gonna chop you down. Doesn't hold a torch. Pretty crumbs. Like, I don't hate it on my team. If we don't have a healer, I'm like, oh, at least they'll probably heal me. But, I mean, come on. Ray, you try to tell me that IO's as good as Ray or better than Ray, then you're smoking on something foul. And that's not the case. Alright, moving down the tier list as I drink some water and, you know, wet my whistle. It's drying out. My old dry, crusty whistle just left out in the Sahara Desert. Alright. Next up on the tier list, Leanne. Oh, what? You're putting Leanne in fucking D tier? That's right, folks. I am. I think if you have Leanne on your team, you're more likely to lose than if you don't. Don't think she's good. I'm going to say it. Sure, she's got auto aim. Sure, she's got her little dash bullshit cooldown, dashing away all the time. I don't know. Leanne's on my team. I usually lose. That's what goes with these characters down here. Like, they're on my team. If this is my team and this is the enemy team, we lost. That's just an L. We're holding that. Maybe we'll outplay them so hard that we can win, but like we're really setting ourselves up for failure there. All right, speaking of setting yourself up for failure, I'm gonna go with Maeve. Down in the in the E tier. Not a good spot. Not a good spot to be. Maeve, I think if you're playing on a controller, which is what this tier list is all about, just a regular Joe on his PlayStation with the boys, trying to play some Paladins and not have it be horrible. Who should you pick? Who should you not pick? Don't think Maeve is the play. Have seen some Maeves that are nice, sure. Some that are really dank and just execute me, and I'm like fucking being an absolute hog. But she mostly just kind of runs away, doesn't do enough damage. Too hard to reliably hit her shots, and most of the time Maeve's on my team, we lose, and they suck. And I'm just like, God damn it, you fucking pompous asshole thinking you can play Maeve when you definitely can't. Not a good pick. Putting her down to E. Speaking of down to E, Maldamba, same vibe, just like too hard to reliably pull off and be good on my team. Most of the time, if I'm seeing that locked in on my team, it's terrible. I'm just like, God damn it, you suck. Picked someone too hard, way harder than your own capabilities. Shouldn't be playing that. You should be playing someone nice and easy, like a Barrack or like a Ray. Someone you don't really have to aim with. You just fucking put down things and they do all the talking for you. Just all the time I see Maldamba, they usually lose, and it's just pretty bad for them. Speaking of usually lose and pretty bad for them, Vivian. Vivian really just blows. I'm going to say it. Doesn't have a dash, doesn't have any movement, doesn't have any health, doesn't really have enough damage. Kind of just sucks. If I'm against Vivian, I will beat her every single time with any of these characters without fail. And she just easily slain. Even as a Drogos, you can just easily slay Vivian. Even as a Buck, Bafatu, even if you're nice enough on Bomb King. People pick Vivian because they're brain dead and they don't know how to play and they just want to sit somewhere far away and hold down shoot. Well, look good, buddy. She just doesn't do enough for that. Just doesn't do it. Bad pick. Hate to see it on my team. I'm just like, oh yay, Vivian. Yeah. Not the one you want. All right. Moving on down into F tier. I'm going to put Victor. Too many times I have a Victor on my team. Too many times we lose miserably because they are just running around being useless. I'm like, oh, why are we losing this fight? Why am I dying so bad? I die. I look on a character screen and it's Victor. And I'm seeing what Victor's doing, my teammate, as I'm dead. Guess what? Running around, just running. That's what he's a runner. He's a track star. That's all he does, just run around, maybe pull out an ult. But if you're on any self-respecting character, you can get out of Victor's ult. You can finesse it. It's a terrible pick. Absolutely trash. Sure, they'll usually have top damage, but that's because they used their ult on a tank, didn't kill them, and just had randomly got an extra fucking 10,000 damage added to their stats. They suck. I hate them. You pick Victor, then get off Paladins, bro. Just go play Call of Duty. Go play Fortnite. You're a Fortnite kid if you're playing Victor. I'm saying it. Not a good pick. Usually a L. I'll put Moji into F tier. Just a bad character. These guys are just bad characters. Sure, does a lot of damage, but only when you're close. You pick any of these guys, you can kind of just clunk on Moji. Not the pick you want to see. Sure, can do well, and like maybe cannot be the worst, but 10 times out of 10 is the worst, and maybe a miracle happens and they're not the worst. I think that brings us on into the L tier. This tier is truly saved for a character where when they appear on your team, right then and there, in that instant, the game has already been decided. An L. You've already lost. You're already gone. You're already out. You're not going to win. If someone picks Victor, you still have a chance of winning. It's going to suck. It's going to be miserable. You're going to hate it because Victor's just running around being worthless. But it's not. You're not guaranteed out. These next picks are guaranteed outs. You get one of them, you're out. Yeah, Genos on your team. You're just you just have to sigh and be like, ugh. Alright, guess we get Genos. Genos is an L. You got Genos. I'm playing one of these. You lose, I win. That's the end of the story. That's just how the game goes. That's how it works. It's how it happens in all the games. Terrible pick. Don't play Genos. Speaking of just don't fucking play it. Just don't play Cassie, bro. Why are you picking Cassie on my team? I'm just gonna lose now. Please don't play Cassie, bro. Oh, they picked Cassie. We lost. That's how the math goes. That's how the draft goes. Oh, they picked Eevee. We lost. Oh, they picked Pip. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna put Pip up in no. Oh, they picked Pip. We lost. That's just what it is. We're just losing. Shaolin. We lost. Oh, our teammate picked Strix last pick when we needed a tank. We lost. Oh, what's that? Our first pick is Willow, and that's game. We lost. Oh, what do we need a healer? And someone's gonna pick. Oh, they picked Ying. Okay, yeah, that's game over. We also lost. That's an L. Betty La Bomba, new character. Pretty good in my opinion. Kind of seems like a less damaged Dredge, but can kind of fly around Androxy style. Sort of some Drogosy vibes, but again, just like way less damage. I'd probably put her around one of these tiers. I'd put Betty. I'll put her in A. Alright. I think that's the tier list. I'm just going to put Victor into L tier. Just because I hate him so much when he's on my team. I think my win rate with a Victor on my team is probably like 10% of the time. Whereas it's a straight flat out 0 with Cassie. I'll tell you that much. I've never won with Cassie on my team. I think I've won with Shaolin on my team like maybe once. Ying just not happening. We're taking those L's. These are just L's. And yeah, I think that kind of sums up the tier list. Let me just look at it a little bit more. I think it's looking good. Maybe Dredge is a little high, but at the same time, if you're playing him right, that's where I think he belongs. Octavia, just a slumper slapper. Maybe I'm gonna bump her up to S. No, I'm not. She's down here. She's down here. Alright. That's the tier list. It looks pretty good. This is for console players. This is for controller players. This is for people whose rank is anywhere, I'd say diamond or under, this tier list holds up. You start getting to diamond and above, things get a little wacky. Suddenly, Strix is really good, and EVs are you're afraid of them, and you're like, Cassie's just fucking you up for some reason. But anything below diamond, maybe like diamond and below, this is the tier list. You can try to argue it. You can try to say, oh, but I'm so good on Amani. I play Amani every game, and I have like I'm so good on a. No. I can tell you, as someone who's relatively new to Paladins, has a pretty non-biased view, whereas other tier lists still are holding on to the times where Koga was OP or where Grover was OP. Those times are gone. Those aren't the times we live in now. And this is the time of Terminus and Azan and Sati and Tyra and Ray. If your team is Terminus, Azan, Sati, Tyra, Ray, or Terminus Azan, Sati, Lex, Ray, or Terminus Azan, Atlas, Ray, Sati, or Tyra, Lex, Sati, Atlas, Terminus, whatever, fucking insert any character. You're gonna have a good time. You're gonna win. You're gonna clack them. These guys, you're like, oh no, they banned Terminus, Azan, and Sati. And then the other guys banned fucking Lex and whatever, and then they picked Tyra. Alright, I guess I'll go Talus, or like, sure, yeah, I guess I'll go Sky or Dredge, but it's not ideal. I'd rather get one of these. But that being said, these guys are still top of the line after the cream of the crop's been herded out and cut down. These guys are still top of the line. Once these guys are locked in, then these start becoming the next best options. You know, you can still carry a game on these characters. You can still absolutely frag. I'm going to move Betty down actually a little bit. You can still absolutely frag and clack and put the game on your team, on your hands, and do like 200k damage and just be unstoppable. But better is like counter picks. You're kind of picking them later in the draft after these guys get picked. You're like, oh, they picked Inara and fucking that's their only tank. Alright, I'm gonna go Grok and just bounce lightning off her the whole time. Like, that's a counter pick. Or like, oh, they first picked Yag. Guess I'll just counter pick him and obliterate his soul. You gotta pick these guys later down in the draft. These guys start being like, a little less reliable, like feast or famine. They're either just carrying the game or pretty much useless, and you're losing because they're on your team. Hit or miss. When they're hit, they're really hitting, and they're just like, you're like, wow, I can't do anything against this. Insert name here. I can't do anything against this Koga. I can't do anything against this Saris. I can't do anything against this Knessa. But majority of the time, they're just like, whatever. You're probably better off having one of these. These guys are just like really mids. Just like, sure, they do their job, but like these guys just do it so much better that why pick them? These guys start being bad. You're just like, damn, why do I have this on my team? This is not what I want. Maybe I'll move Zin up a little bit, but not really. That's where he goes. Not what I want. Don't do enough damage. Aren't reliable enough. Just throw on your team. You're like, well, that kind of sucks. See these guys locked in. You're like, god damn it, we got blank again. This, you're just like, what the hell, Moji? And then these, you're just like, well, alright, we're going to close Paladins and open up Rocket League or play something else. Like, they're just... If I see with no cap, not even a single slight bit of cap, if I first pick Terminus and then the next two people pick Genos and Victor, I'm just going to leave straight up. I'm just going to close the game and open up a different one because Genos and Victor combined, never going to win a game. Literally never won a game in all my years of playing Paladins, which has maybe been like 1 year. But I've still been playing it a lot, grinding it out. I got some level 50 characters. You know, I'm like Plat 3 right now, on the cusp of Plat 2. And have like a 70-something% win rate on Terminus. Have an 82% win rate on Ray in ranked. Have like a 67% win rate on Azan. And a 67% win rate on Grok. Pretty reliably can say, like, this is what's good. This is what's like, this is what's bad. This is what you... Like, if the enemy has Strix on their team, we won that game. That game's just a win. Check it off. Move on to the next game. If they first pick in Lex, you're done. That's the tier list. Hope you liked it. This Octavia's looking super scuffed. It's just, what's going on here? Can I zoom into that? What is... Oh, Jesus. Oh, look at her, bro. She looks like she's like dying. I literally can't zoom in anymore. Uh-oh, what have I done? Okay, that's the tier list. Hope you liked it. Subscribe.